years old, that's when you're supposed to have your whole life, like, pretty much mapped out and ready to go. This is, like, when you're supposed to be independent, going out into the world on your own for the very first time. Me, I went to Holy Cross College, which was next to two schools. St. Mary's College, which was a women's college, and then there's the University of Notre Dame. If anyone heard of, I don't follow football. I only know this because of word of mouth, and then I eventually looked it up on the internet. But if anybody saw the movie Rudy, which I eventually saw myself because I went to Holy Cross, the movie about, about the lead character which was actually based on a real person, he went to Holy Cross, and as a matter of fact, Rudy, I don't know which football team he was on, when, where, I only saw that movie once. I do remember he went to Holy Cross, and he actually visited the school while I was there, but I didn't know until after he left, so I didn't see him. But this was like supposed to be, from that point on, my life was supposed to be, I feel like, on a timeline. You're supposed to graduate, let's see, I was 18 when I started college, so 18, 19, 20, I was supposed to graduate by the time I turned 21, supposed to have a career by time, around that age too, and then just let that be my day-to-day life until the day I was killed, or die, whenever. Unfortunately, my version of independence came and went. Like, just, first of all, my problem was I never saw high school as a map to the future. This was when my depression started, which means my road to adulthood and independence, that was just, felt like that was a come and gone thing. Like, I got to experience a little bit of it, and then as quickly as it came, it was taken away from me. Because, first of all, my depression started back in high school. Although, medically wise, I didn't know there was such a thing as depression. I don't think I knew I was sad, but I didn't think it was this bad. If I remember correctly, my depression started because I was lonely. I never had friends, and even if I did have friends, they were usually younger than me. Because I could never get along with people my own age, because they were so fucking immature. Like, I went to Oscar Smith High School. However, because after my 8th grade year, I actually moved with my family to another house. So because of this, I was given a rare option of choosing which high school I went to go. Because usually, you're supposed to go to the high school that's closest to you in your district. But because I moved, I still had an option. So I could go to Indian River High School or Oscar Smith. The only reason why I chose Oscar Smith, because I did not want to be picked up by my father every fucking day. He was he was an asshole. I don't talk about family, but I couldn't get around it, because that was the reason why I chose that school. Because I can walk, or I can take the bus there, not have to worry about being around my father all the time, who does nothing but yell and scream at me, even when I don't do anything wrong. So, anyway, I never did the typical things that you're supposed to do, because, it started becoming more and more obvious that I was afraid of people. And of course, yes, this is where my depression pretty much started. Originally, I was alone. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know how to make friends, and the rare times that I did hang out with somebody, they were usually a little bit younger than me. So, like for instance, ninth grade when I went to Oscar Smith, there was a couple of Hold on, let me backtrack. Actually, this was before this. When I was in middle school, 8th grade, so a year before, I was living in a neighborhood, and there was these two kids living there. They were like, I don't know, they were a few years younger than me. And then when I went to Oscar Smith, there was another kid, and she was a few years younger than me. It's like I could never have friends my own age. And either they were at least 3 years younger than me, or um, I could easily talk to adults. But people my own age, in my own generation, they were just immature. All they wanted was to fight all the time, join their social cliques, whatever. I was never someone people looked at. And so this is kind of what started. And then over my time, especially over, what was supposed to be the start of my adulthood, outside of aging, um, I feel like this is what started my depression, and over the years it evolved into more and more reasons. I just, so, I guess, so, because of my depression, because I wasn't making any friends, because I was terrified of people, I didn't do the typical things that most people would do in high school, which is to start joining organizations or clubs that fit their interests. Well, actually, technically, I did once. I only lasted a week or two. This was when I was in another school. So, in total, of all 4 years of high school, I went to 5 high schools, but 2 of them were summer schools. So, if you count the main high schools during a regular school year, I went to 3. And so, the only activity I ever did was, I was in a photography club, but I was only in it for a week. I was also in the newspaper, but that took place during school, and I was only in there for like less than a month. Social anxiety pretty much ruined me from the get-go. And with my loneliness starting to increase, and I had no confidence, like ever. And, over my 20s, that even became worse, especially when I became suicidal. Um, I, this is where I feel like the journey to losing my independence before I really get it began. It began in high school. It began with not joining clubs or organizations. It began with me being afraid of people all the time. It began with feeling that I didn't deserve to live, because I actually did try to hurt myself once. Although, to be fair, my self-destructive behavior really didn't begin until my 20s, which is what goes down to how my journey to adulthood was pretty much ruined.